Everything about my life makes so much more sense to me right now. Welcome to Shootin the Wheeze, where I shoot the shit on things happening in wrestling and the real world until I can't ramble anymore. And today, we're just gonna roll with it. So the first thing that's on my mind is the fact that I haven't been here in a week. I got really busy. Sitting down to record Shootin the Wheeze should be an easy thing, but I feel like I get so distracted and so busy, and that segues into why I get so distracted and why I get so busy. So last Monday, after the Super Bowl, which we haven't even talked about the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, I got diagnosed with ADHD officially. I've been working on that diagnosis for a couple months. I'd taken all of the tests, and you have to have the person in your household take the test as well, and you figure out all of these things about yourself, and you get an official diagnosis. And then you have to go back to the person that can actually, prescribe the medication, whether I'm going to be medicated or not. I'm actually not totally sure whether being on any kind of medication is what I want, or if I just want to find coping mechanisms and ways to arrange my life in a better way. I'm very torn on that. I talked about on TikTok a little bit how having ADHD in today's world, from adults on TikTok especially, they make these videos where they make it sound like having ADHD is this fun, quirky thing. And a lot of the time they gloss over the fact that it can be very debilitating, and it can really ruin relationships with other people. It can really put your life in kind of a stalemate, a stagnant pace where you can't get out of bed in the morning and you're behind in all these things. You're not paying your bills. You're not doing your laundry. You're not keeping up on your hygiene. There's a lot of things that go into it that I think the general public maybe doesn't know, and that's why it goes so undiagnosed. Because to get a diagnosis, you take all of these not exams but surveys, and one of those surveys that you take as an adult is this assessment of your perception of your childhood. What kind of things did you struggle with in childhood? What did you struggle with in school? Did you do this? Did you do that? And you would think that in taking that assessment, if you picked all of the things that made you hyperactive, that you automatically would have been clocked for ADHD. I talk about my age all the time, but I'm 31. So I was in elementary school, middle school in the 2000s, mid 2000s. All boys had ADHD. They were the ones that got diagnosed. Girls really did not get diagnosed with ADHD ever. And I'm learning now that it can present itself differently in girls, in little girls, because I was not a hyperactive girl. I was a very withdrawn girl. I had a hard time waiting my turn. I spoke out of turn a lot, but I wasn't hyper. I wasn't mean. I wasn't disruptive or anything like that. I was very good at making people think I was more intelligent and smarter than I was, because I had a bit of a photographic memory. So I wouldn't study for stuff, but the night before I could cram and get by just well enough. And I did that throughout my entire school career, elementary school, middle school, high school. I waited till the last minute to do every single project, everything that I needed to do. And up until that point, that had been fine. It got by. No one clocked that there was anything wrong with me until I got to college. And then all of a sudden, scraping by last minute didn't work anymore. Trying to write essays last minute didn't work anymore. Nothing did. My grades completely plummeted. I was spiraling out of control. I couldn't go to classes anymore. And nobody understood why. I remember my family being so angry with me because they didn't get it. They were like, "You've always been so smart. You did so well in high school. What the hell's wrong with you?" And I couldn't verbalize what was wrong with me. All through high school, my parents got divorced. I don't really talk about my family life, but my parents got divorced when I was 11. My mom really wasn't in the picture. She's still not in the picture. I was pretty much raised by my dad and my stepmom later on in life. And I went to a lot of therapy. My parents were great. My dad and my stepmom, we didn't talk about our feelings, so they sent me to therapy. They're like, "You're crying all the time. You're upset. Why are you upset? You're losing weight. What's going on? Go to therapy." So I went to therapy. And the therapists I went to 3 different therapists. They all clocked me as being depressed. And so from an early age, I was on depression medication, a couple different kinds. And it was always weird because I felt like they didn't do anything. I think the main thing I always felt on depression medication was that I felt I guess I equate it to being a zombie. Like, I just felt like I couldn't feel things. I don't feel like it changed anything about me other than I couldn't feel anything, and I hated it. So I went off of that. I don't know how many times cold turkey. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I would just quit taking the shit, and then I'd be fine for however long. I do have bits of anxiety. I think everyone does. They diagnosed me with some form of that too. I don't take any medication for that, but it's been a wild week getting that kind of diagnosis because, again, like I just explained, you look back at your whole life and you see all these things and maybe things that could have gone differently and things that maybe you could have done better had it been caught earlier, but shoulda, coulda, wouldas. This is where we are. If, having ADHD, it makes me who I am. It's very frustrating at times. Like, I left my wallet at work this weekend. Like, things like that suck, but it is what it is. And did I mention that I was sick? That I was sick also all this last week? If you are watching on YouTube, I'm literally wiping my nose. I have a roll of toilet paper that I'm grabbing so that I can wipe my freaking nose. I caught a cold on Friday. Well, I caught a cold at some point during the week because I'm a hairstylist, and I had a client come in and sit in my chair and straight up tell me that she was sick. She's like, I have cold. And it's not just her. It's a bunch of other women that come in and sit down because they want their hair done, but they're sick and they're sneezing and they're coughing all over the place. And they're just like, oh, I have allergies. It's like, bitch, you don't have allergies. You're fucking sick. Like, what are you doing here? We're in this place in the world where if you have a sickness and it's not COVID, like, oh, that's fine. I can go infect everyone with this because it's not COVID. Like, bitch, get a fucking grip. It was never okay. I've kicked maybe in my 10 years of doing hair, I think I've kicked out maybe 3 people for being sick before. I don't do it very often because I'm a millennial and I'm a people pleaser. And I've been conditioned from an early age that the customer's always right. I've always worked in customer service. So how dare you make the customer hate you for setting up boundaries? I'm trying to get better at that, but it is what it is. I don't even remember the last wrestling thing that we talked about. What was the last wrestling thing that I even talked about on Shootin the Wheeze? We had the Rock. Well, we were waiting for the press conference, right? Okay, so the press conference happened. I thought it was great. It was amazing. It was in Las Vegas the same week as the Super Bowl. The Rock, is siding with Roman Reigns, but Cody's actually going to be the one facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It's fuckery. Everything is all over the place. We've got Cody crybabies. We've got the Rocky people. I don't even know what to call them. I'm so torn on how I even feel because I've heard so many different perspectives from so many different angles of how people feel about it. The only thing I keep seeing is people being so sure that Cody is retaining at WrestleMania, and I don't know that that's happening. I think that you need to slow down a sec and not get your hopes up because he might not win again, and you need to not riot, Well, they're going to riot regardless. But that same weekend, so we had the press conference, and then we had the Super Bowl, which I didn't intend to watch, but I did watch it. It was very good. It was a good Super Bowl. The overtime was interesting. I really enjoyed the game. I just decided last minute that I wanted the 49ers to win because I let go of my grudge that they beat my Lions for the championship game. The Lions should have been there, but it's fine. And yeah, the Super Bowl was a good night. I enjoyed it a lot more than I intended to. I don't have much more to say about the Super Bowl. It was great. Happy for next year. The draft is going to be held in Detroit, which would be cool. That's in April. And then we'll get going on free agency and all that fun shenanigans stuff with football. So having a little break from football right now is kind of nice. I get to just focus on wrestling and other things. I will bring up the thing that happened the next couple days in Kansas City. At the Kansas City Chiefs parade, we had a man decide that he was going to open fire at the parade. And one thing that I've consistently brought this up in live streams lately, where with Elimination Chamber coming up and being in Perth, we're having conversations about Australia. And we've had a lot of people say, I would never go to Australia because Australia is dangerous. Like, there's things in Australia that can kill you. Like, there's spiders and there's wild animals and blah, 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 blah. And I always respond to that by saying, if you live in the United States and you say that you're scared to go to Australia because there are things that can kill you, you're a fucking idiot. You're straight up a fucking idiot. In the United States, and politics aside, I don't talk politics. I really don't. But just looking at it face value, in the United States, You can't go. My local mall gets shot up all the time. And you don't even hear about those kinds of things anymore because it's so fucking common. But a parade, a music festival, a church, any kind of public gathering at this point, it's something that you have to think about. And schools. I have so many friends that aren't sending their kids to school because it's a thought. And it's always the same kind of person. It's always the same MO. It's usually the same kind of weapon. And it's like, nobody cares enough to do anything because it steps on too many toes. And I don't even know, I'll be honest in saying that I don't even know that there is a right answer on how to fix it. Because you got to remember, not that you got to remember, but coming from my perspective, where we're adults, we can have this conversation. I hope. We'll see how it goes. I live in northern Indiana. I was not raised around firearms. I do know how to handle one now. I am surrounded by people that are big proponents of them and enjoy them and like them. And I always ask the same things with them because I feel like I'm a very middle of the road kind of person, and I just want logic and I just want answers. I don't act on feelings. And I think that's a part of my problem is I don't act on impulse with feelings. I think logically, and I think, okay, well, what would be the solution to this problem? And nobody can give me an answer. Nobody can give me an answer because I think if there is an answer, it's not what they want. And in their mind, that answer isn't going to work anyway, or at least that's what they say. So I don't think there's ever a good answer to that question or that problem. But I live in the United States, and it's a problem that we deal with regularly. And I don't know, the conversations about Australia always make that interesting to me. When I brought that up on Instagram the other day, I actually had quite a few people from Australia message me and say, they banned all firearms. Was it 30 years ago? I forget. They had a mass shooting. They banned all firearms, and so they haven't had a mass shooting in I don't know how long. And they all brought that point up to me. Every single person that lives in Australia brought up that point to me. And then most of them said, I have lived here my entire life. I've never seen this kind of spider. I've never encountered this kind of wild animal. You got to go in the fucking desert. Australia is a big continent, I'd be like me saying I'm afraid of cougars. Well, I got to go up to the mountains to find a fucking cougar. Like, I live in the middle of Indiana. You got to remember land space and where things are directionally based on where you're at. So, not to get into that kind of conversation, but it's something I did want to bring up because it makes me sad. There's just a lot of stuff going on, especially when you do this kind of thing where I'm in a niche, right? I don't even ever know if that's even how you say the word, but I'm in a niche, and my thing is sports, pro wrestling, mainly pro wrestling, goofy stuff, fun stuff. Look at my room. I'm a kid at heart. And then you've got real things happening, and you never know what the correct thing to do is or what the correct thing to say is. And I'm going to bring up one more thing that people are all, up in arms about, but it's all over my TikTok. It's all over my Instagram. So I feel like I have to talk about it, but it's very difficult sometimes for me to be where I am, doing what I'm doing, focusing on what I'm focusing on, and then having the realization that there are things happening overseas that are happening the way that they're happening. And I am talking about what's happening in Palestine and in Gaza with Israel. And I'm not going to act like I know anything about anything. I don't know anything about the history. I don't. All I know is what I see. So what I see is people, reporters that are from Gaza. Basan is the one that I see the most. Reporting on people being killed. And in the way that she's describing it, making it seem like it doesn't matter what they do. There's no compliance in this. There's nowhere for them to go. Even if they go where they're supposed to say they're going to go, they're still going to end up being killed. And that's the way that that's being presented to me, because my news isn't showing me anything. When I think about, granted, I don't watch American news. I don't. And I think maybe that's where some of my guilt comes from, is that I absolutely am someone that has put my head in the sand. I put my head in the sand because it makes it easier to keep going, right? Because despite anything that's happening, we are so very powerless in everything that we do. The government runs things. I'm not someone that believes my vote totally matters. I'm so upset with my government and the way that my country works and the way that things are and the way that I'm viewed, that it's just, I still have bills to pay. I still have stupid fucking taxes to pay. This is my livelihood right now. Doing hair is my livelihood. So in order to focus on the things that I need to do, I have absolutely put my head in the sand. What I see happening on social media is, and maybe this is just my algorithm, but there is an influx of people that are going after, bigger creators for not saying anything about what's going on in Gaza. And I also feel torn about that, because on one token, I'm like, yeah, absolutely say something about it. What's so hard about saying something, depending on like what your viewpoints are on it. I don't have strong viewpoints on it. All I see is innocent people being killed, and that's not the people that should be losing their lives. That just seems so fucking inhumane. They're wanting, like Brittany Broski, and there were a couple other, they want them to use their platform and speak out. And it's like, I get it, but at the same time, it almost feels like a witch hunt going after people that aren't saying the things that you want them to be saying. And if they're not saying the things you want them to be saying, you're trying to completely cancel and ruin them. And from what I've observed thus far, I don't know that them saying anything would do anything. And that doesn't mean that silence, it doesn't mean that that's okay. I don't know what I think. I hate it. I hate it, because I feel like we're just turning on each other. And I think that's why I live in this bubble, and people hate that. I live in my bubble because being a human is not an easy thing to do. Now, could it obviously be way worse? Yes, I could fucking be over there. I could live in another country where things are way, way worse. There's always a rabbit hole you can go down of where things are worse. And, I really wanted to just at least touch on that, because it's been weighing heavy on my mind, where a lot of the time I'm waiting for my platform. I'm like waiting for and it's happened a little bit, but I'm waiting for the comments to just be flooded with people trying to cancel me for a specific reason. And I just, I wish I was better at knowing what the right things to say were. I wish I was better at knowing things about the world, but I just don't. And it makes me sad. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And it's hard figuring out like where to segue from there too, after talking about something like that. Cause then that's the thing. I think that's why people that do what I do don't, because then where do we go from there? And that just, oh God, it just sounds so awful when you say it out loud. It really does. But as of recording, Elimination Chamber is this weekend in Perth, Australia. And I'm going to make a prediction video on it. I said I wasn't going to do predictions anymore, but I'm going to do predictions. We're going to get going on that. And I have a couple other ideas up my sleeve as far as, what we're going to do pre-PLEs. That pay-per-view is at 5 o'clock in the morning, my time, Eastern time. I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch it. I have to work on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. So I got to leave the house by like 8:15. So it just doesn't make sense. I'm planning to watch it when I get off of work. So I'll probably be live like 3:30 Eastern, 4 p.m. I understand that people will likely want to spoil things. So we either are going to have to do subscription only chat, or we're going to have to do emo only chat. I don't know how we're going to do it. I can't imagine not having the chat at all. Like that's what makes streaming fun. So we'll try and do that. I did get a PS5 that was gifted by a viewer, which was so very generous. And I think I have everything set up to where it should be easy to do now. I think we're going to do like a community gaming day on Sundays and at random times, but Sunday afternoons seem like a good time to do community gaming. And then certain Saturday mornings or Saturday early mornings. I mean, late mornings. Don't even know. I have GTA 5. GTA 5 is my jam. It was my favorite game. It was a lot of fun playing it and like getting to see what was going on in the game, because I haven't played it for like 3-4 years. So it was a nice little ride down memory lane. I'm excited to play more and kind of catch up on the things that have happened in the meantime. Last night was Monday Night Raw in Anaheim, California, and it was a really, really good show. I really enjoyed the production of it. I enjoyed all of the backstage segments. I enjoyed all of the matches. Everything about that Monday Night Raw was ace. The one thing that wasn't ace was that there was a I love Santi Zap sign in the crowd. And it was there the whole duration. It was in the second row, hard cam. And they let that sign be there the whole time. Look, I honestly don't really care that much. I hate that every time that someone has brought a sign for me, it gets taken away. I get it. It's promotion. I'm just going to chalk it up to either they don't care enough or they don't know who Santi is, or they thought it was fine because it wasn't my actual logo. That's the reason I think mine always get taken away, is because it's my logo and it's branding and blah, 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 blah. So, motherfuckers. I posted on TikTok a funny little me cutting a promo like Chelsea Green about how it was unfair that the WWE didn't take away Santi's sign. And dog, creator tribalism is the weirdest fucking thing, because the crazy thing is that as a creator, you know, we don't really have like beef with each other. Like, really? We all talk to each other. We're all friends, like lift each other up, all that good stuff. And then the comments will be like, Santi's better than so-and-so, or they'll like rank us. They'll rank like 5 of us, or they'll put like the greater sign, or someone's better than greater sign. Or I had so many people telling me, well, you're not as good as Santi, or Santi's better than you, or blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, fucking Santi Glazers, holy shit. But it's such an interesting thing to watch unfold and be a part of. And you got to remember how weird the internet can be. And honestly, some of the people that you're dealing with, some of these people are literal fucking middle schoolers. It is what it is. It's the name of the game. I don't really let it bother me. It's just a very interesting thing to watch unfold, because certain people, I can see that just absolutely destroying them. And the internet is such a wild fucking place. I have had a lot of emails and stuff lately wanting to do collaborations. And I feel like maybe I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again, where maybe me just telling you that I have ADHD at the beginning of this episode will kind of give you a little glimpse into my brain. But I don't often agree to collab with people because my life is so busy and so crazy that I have a hard time following through. I just do. I think I have 3 things that I need to get done for other people that I agree to that I probably shouldn't have agreed to do. And that's why I work by myself so often, because then I'm not hindering anybody else. Like, it's my problem. I'm just hindering myself. You know what I'm saying? So if you are in my messages and asking to collab, or you want me to be on your podcast, or this and this and that, I've talked about it before, but like I very rarely will. There's a few people that I will for, depending on the date and time, but I am not a full-time content creator as much as I would like to be. I'm not. I do have a full-time job still. I've got a house. I've got chores. I got shit I got to do. So it's not a personal thing. And it's like the more that we grow, the more those messages become frequent, and the more that, you know, I have to answer them. And I feel very bad. Like, I do feel bad. But no, it's not personal. It's just a me thing. If I agreed to do all of them, I would be booked up like every fucking day of the week, and that's just not conducive to me. Like, it just doesn't make sense. If I'm going to take time, majority of the time I am going to take time to do my own thing. I would like to do more collaborations with people, but I have to limit it to like maybe 2 a month if I can, like every other week, just because that's the way that my schedule aligns. If you are planning to go to either the Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis at the end of March, I believe that's March 29th and 30th, and then C2E2, which is in Chicago, it's a comic convention. I believe that is April 24th, 25th, 26th, like the 3rd week of April. I am planning to go to both of those, and I am trying to come up with content ideas where I can include fans and talent alike. So working on that. So stay tuned for that. If you do go to any of those things and you see me, please say hi. Just, you know, be respectful. I have never had any issues with that, but just know that I am kind of moving along, and I can't stay and chat for too long, but I would like to say hi. I'll take a picture. I'll do whatever you want. Excited for convention season to be coming. With convention season coming, I am trying to get back into my weightlifting a little more regularly. I'm sucking at it. Getting sick didn't help. I was really lacking on my cardio, like The Rock. Jerks. I was really lacking on my cardio, so I'm trying to get better with that. I really want to cut a little bit of weight before convention season just because it makes me feel better. And I'm feeling much stronger now. Like my snatches and my clean and jerks are going good. So I'd like to get back on a competition platform if I can. And if I do that, then I want to compete in my weight class that I previously competed in before, which we'll see if I can do that. I think that I was in the 64 kilogram and I'm probably now around like 67 kilograms. So I honestly don't know if I can get back down to that, but we're going to try. We're going to do our best. I just got to not eat all of the snacks that my boss brings into work. It's like the break room menace of crumble cookies and all the snacks. You should see the shelves that we have in the back of like the snacks that she puts up. It's so impossible to resist them. I have to go sit in my car on my lunch break so that I'm not just engorging on all of the snacks. It's very, very frustrating. And, wintertime in general is frustrating too, just because there's not as much to do. It's hard to get out. I see in doing this and, having to dedicate a whole day to sitting down and recording, like it's a very difficult thing to do because you're not active, like you're not getting steps in. And that's really frustrating as someone that's normally very active. So once it gets warm out, I can go back out and get walking along the cornfields of Indiana. I did go for a walk yesterday. It was like 44 degrees outside and that was fabulous. Get some nice fresh air. Okay, I gave you a little break between that one to talk about this. Because I feel like everything that I'm talking about today is heavy. Alongside with what we were talking about with the conflict over in Israel, we have the situation ongoing in the WWE with Vince McMahon. Nowhere near the same like kind of thing, but there's both very serious subjects. And Vince McMahon's lawsuit, I'm not sure where they're at with it, but there is more stuff that's coming out. I think her lawyer had said that there were more people that were like flooding her email and inbox wanting to talk about the same thing or have their own testimony. And then we got into the story of Ashley Massaro, and that was a story that I didn't necessarily know. And so the comparison that I'm making is, when this is your platform, like professional wrestling, especially someone like me that just does WWE, I've seen a couple comments where people are like, I can't believe people are still watching this despite everything going on. I can't believe that they're still supporting this company with everything going on. And it makes me stop in my tracks for a minute and be like, am I doing the right thing? Like, should I not be doing this in wake of everything going on? Because from my standpoint, I think of, the people that are working there and the people that are employed there. I think of all the professional wrestlers in the world and how most of them has nothing to do with them. And, it's their livelihood. And that's where my brain goes. But part of me is like, damn, like, should I not be supporting this company in any way? Like, is something big going to break where all of this comes crumbling down and the WWE can't exist anymore because of all of this scandal? Like, how much of the WWE history is going to be tainted because of all of this that came out that for some reason just was so hidden that no one knew about it? It just blows my mind to think about. I don't really know what to expect or where things are going to go, but we're just going to have to keep an eye on it and see what's going on, because it's honestly crazy and it's sad and it's fucked up and it's all of those kinds of things. And, I think most of us are just human and we process it the best way that we can. There are no, there are no best. You got to give people some grace. You got to give people some grace. And I'm not talking the people that have done the fucked up things. I'm not talking fuck them. I'm talking about people that are processing the information. We're only human, and there's no fucking guidebook on how to react to situations. There's no guidebook. Most of us that have good intentions do the absolute best that we can. Please don't crucify people for just doing the best that we can. We're all trying to navigate things in the best possible way and with the best possible route. So please, I think we've been okay with that thus far, but there are just those certain crowds out there that just, they show no grace whatsoever. And if you're not on the money 100% immediately, you're fucked. And I just don't like that mentality. I hate that. You got, like, human nature is to be flawed. Human nature is to be flawed. And you got to think of yourself. Like, I think of who I was 15 years ago. I was in high school. I think of who I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You grow and you got to learn. And if you're not learning from the things that are happening, you're not doing it right. So just remember that we're all in this spinning sphere together, just learning how to process things and how to do things. And we're doing the best that we can, most of us. There are some shitheads out there. There's some people out there that just fucking suck. I get that. But most of us are not those kind of people. We're just doing the best we can, you know? I think that's all I'm going to ramble about today. We talked about a lot of heavy shit today, but I felt it was important and I needed to get it off my chest because it's been weighing heavy on me amidst doing all of the fun, goofy things that we do. And I'd like to know, your thoughts on that. I'd like to know your thoughts on how you view important matters as far as how content creators handle them. Should we say things? Should we have stances? What is it bad to stay silent? Is it good to stay silent? I really would like to know, as a consumer, like what your thought process is on that, because I know that I'm not giving any opinions because I don't have any. And you shouldn't, if you watch me regularly, you know that opinion wise, I have a very difficult time with that with wrestling. So it's very difficult to do it with stuff that matters. So yeah, maybe this is a bad idea putting it out, but I'd like to have a conversation. I think it's important to have conversations. Lead with grace. Thank you for being here today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care, everybody. Bye.